So today we're taking a look at another game that I really like. This is Thunder Road Vendetta by Restoration Games. This is based off of the 1984 board game Thunder Road. This is a modernized version of it here where Restoration took an out-of-print board game and modernized it and republished it. So as you can tell, looking at Thunder Road Vendetta here, it looks like we've got some cars fighting each other. If you're getting a Mad Max vibe off of this, well, that's on purpose. Let's go ahead and get a look at what all is included in this package. So what all do we have here? Well, we have these pieces here, which are road segments. We see that we have 4 different sets of vehicles here, a small, a medium, and a large, and a helicopter, a chopper. Then each one has some die to go with it, and their boards here for their different cars. Each player will have this set out like that. We also have some other things. We have some wrecked out cars here. We have all of these dice. We have hazard and damage tokens. Now, it is important to point out that we are taking a look at Thunder Road Vendetta, the base game. There are several expansions for this. There's also a big package which has most all of the expansions on it. Thunder Road Vendetta Maximum Chrome. But this is just the base game we're looking at. The only thing additional that this has, the extra ammo cards, which I will go over at the end. This does come with a nice rule book here, which has everything very well laid out, and we're going to be largely following everything in order of the rule book here. So to set up the game, we will see that we have one board, which is 1A and 1B. This will be our starting board. The other ones are all numbered from 2 to 5. They all have, just as you saw there, we have an A and a B side. So you're going to start off with the board and either use 1A or 1B as your starting board. You'll then shuffle these up randomly, and then you'll draw 2 off of that and add those to it. And these 3 boards are going to be the starting board for the game. Now, as you can tell by looking at this, I can't get all 3 of these in frame in the camera because it goes so wide, but we can still tell what's going on here. To get you an idea of how wide that is, we're going to go measure this here. The 3 of them together is going to be right at 40 inches. You're going to want a little bit more than that. So you're going to need to have at least 40 inches of space on the table. This measuring tape doesn't have millimeters on it, so I don't know what that is for people that use that. So we'll start by placing hazard tokens on here. You're going to place hazard tokens anywhere that you see these little triangles. Now, just on 1A and 1B, you'll have some that have numbers in them, and that will be based off of the number of players in the game. So we will cover them all up. We'll say that we have a 4-player game here. Then each player will choose the color for their crew. I'm going to go ahead and grab blue here just to demonstrate. You have your command board, and then you'll have 3 other boards which will have small, medium, and large. And every player will lay them out like that. They'll have their die that they use on their turns, and of course their individual cars. And so this game will be played in a series of rounds. Each round will be 3 turns for each player. So before we go into exactly how that all works there, let's go ahead and take a look at the cars that we have. Each of these correspond with one of the cars there. A small, a medium, and a large car. There are differences in them, There are advantages and disadvantages to being larger or smaller than your opponent. Right now, each of these cars is operable. As damage happens, damage tokens will be placed down onto here, and damage will happen to cars. When a car gets 2 damage tokens, that car is now inoperable. It can no longer drive, it can coast. We'll go over that in a bit. There are also ways that cars can become eliminated. Eliminated cars are out of the game. An inoperable car can be repaired and brought back in. Eliminated cars are just straight up gone. So the ways that a particular car could become eliminated: if it enters an impassable space, which we'll go over those in a bit. If it ends up finishing its move on the same space as a chopper, that will eliminate it, even if it is your own chopper. If it is on the last board, when the last board is removed, you have fallen too far behind and you are now gone. If you leave the board to the left or to the right, you also are eliminated. And that are the different ways that a car can be eliminated. As we look at this car here, we'll see that the wheels on here do not roll. The fact that the car does not roll off of the space that it is on is a feature and not a bug. And we have different types of spaces on here. We have road tiles. Road tiles cost you 1 movement to enter into them. If your car stays completely on road tiles through its movement on a turn, you can add the road die total to it. You move all of the extra movement on the road die, or you don't use any of it outside of running into some sort of effect that makes you stop. These are off-road spaces. They cost 1 movement to move into, the same as a road space. The only difference is if you go into an off-road space, you cannot use the additional movement from the road die. Muddy spaces. Muddy spaces cost you 2 movement to move into. So it costs twice as much to go into those. If you are at the end of your turn and only have 1 movement left, you can move into one that way. Impassable spaces. Now we will look at one of the boards here, and we will see the double yellow line around some of these. That means that these are impassable spaces. If you go into the impassable space, your car is eliminated. So don't go into those. And a hazard space is going to be any of the spaces that has one of these on it here. If there is a hazard token on it that is face down, you will flip it over and resolve it as soon as your car goes into that space. If there is a flipped over token that is still there, you will resolve it as soon as you go onto it. And if it's a token that removes itself once it has been flipped over, then you just treat it as a regular space. So what are the different obstacles that your cars can run into? Well, one would be a space with another car on it. If you ever go into a space with another car in it, you will initiate a slam, and we'll go over what happens when you do a slam. You can end up running into a space that has a chopper in it. Now, you can go through a space with a chopper, and that's fine. But if you ever end on a space with a chopper, your car is eliminated, even if it is your own chopper, because them chopper pilots are just like that. Face down and face up hazards, which we've gone over, and the impassable spaces. So what are the different hazards? So the different hazard tokens that you can have are wreck, mine, road, mud, and oil. We'll say that this car here moves on to a space that is a wreck. That will end up placing a wrecked car right there, and this one goes on top of it, and you initiate the slam. Once again, we'll explain a slam here in a minute. Then at this point, that wrecked car The wreck token will be discarded, but the actual wreck itself will stay on the board until something makes it disappear. Another one that could happen would be a mine. As soon as a car goes onto a space with a mine, it will take a random damage token, and then you will resolve whatever happens on that damage token, and then the mine is discarded and goes back into the random pile of hazards. So we'll say you run into that, it's just a road tile, you keep moving like nothing different happened there. This is just a mud tile, and it'll be the same thing. As soon as you get on it, it becomes a mud tile. And these will stay on the board. Now for an oil slick, you will roll the direction die when you get it. So let's say that this car right here goes onto that. This is revealed as an oil slick. You will then roll this direction die. And in this case, we can look at it like that this center spot here represents your car here. This is saying to go back and to the left, so you would move to that space based off of that. The oil slick stays there, and anyone else that runs into it has to do this effect. This extra movement here from the oil slick does not cost you a movement, and you can keep moving along if you had more move left on your turn. So let's take a look at how the turns actually work here. As I mentioned earlier, the first player will roll the road die, and it will stay like that for that entire round, and then each player will roll their 4 dice. And these numbers here will be the ones that you will have to use. This was a kind of bad roll there, but anyway. So the order that this will go is, number 1, you will, when it becomes your turn, you have 3 turns on each round, you will assign a die. Now the places you can assign them would be onto each of your car boards here. You can assign it right there, and your car can move that many spaces. You just go there. In this case, you would move 2 spaces. It would slide down to there, and that would show that you have ended that turn. Now, the way you would imagine this going would be placing one of these on each of your cars and placing one there on your command board. But if a car is inoperable or eliminated, instead you will coast one of your other cars by placing that on there. And on that turn, you would just move that car 1 space. Doesn't matter what number it is, you would just move it 1 space. So if I were to start off the game and put 2 on my large car here, I would take this, I would take my large car, it would go to the edge of the board here and go on 2 spaces, which doesn't show up on here. So let's just say we were right here, we can move 2 spaces. And right there, my turn would be over there. Now, since I had stayed on road tiles, I could use an additional 3, but that will be dangerous because I've got this here in front of me. But instead of going forward, what I could do, I'm not obligated to stay on the road anymore after that, so I could move down 1, 2, 3, because you can advance into any of these spaces in this front arc of your car. There, or there. Any of those you can move into. So it would be 2 for the actual movement, and then 3, 1, 2. I only have 1 left. That would normally be 2 movement to go into it, but since it's the end of my turn, and I just have 1 left, I can go into that there. And so that's how a movement would work there. Then the other players would all move their cars along, and then it would be time for me to move another one of mine. And I would place it on each turn onto one of those. So what is going on with this 4th die? What you would do here is you could use your command board here. Your command board gives you 4 other options here. You have airstrike. You can place any number on that, and you get to place your chopper on any empty space, and then you can shoot anything in its front arc. And when you're shooting, whether it is your chopper or one of your cars, you can shoot into that front arc in front of you. Has to be an empty space, so you can't drop directly on top of a car, but you can drop behind a car somewhere and shoot at it. Number 1 to 3 is a nitro. You can put this on here and basically boost one of your cars, the number that you put onto that there. So let's say that my medium car was right here. It has a 2. I've got this extra spot, and I decide I want to do nitro when I place my medium. So I place the 2 on the medium, I place the 1 on the nitro, and now the car could go 3 spaces. Now let's say I didn't want to do that. Let's say I have some other number that I have a 3, just because I have to have a 3 to 5 to use drift. This is the first time that you would slam, you could ignore the slam. We'll say that we're in a position like this right here. We place the 2 on our small car. Our small car was right here, so it gets to go 2. We could then, if we had a 3, we could put that 3 right there and do 1, 2, 3 and go through that car the first time and just ignore the slam. And then finally, if you get a 6, you can repair a car. And that is, you remove 1 damage token from one of your cars. You put that on there and you get to just remove that token. So the first step on any turn is to assign to one of your cars. The second step would be, if you wanted to assign to the command board, you do it then. Remember that you will have 1 command that you can do on each round. You do not get a command each turn, just on each round. The third step would be actually move. You would move, you would resolve any movement effects or any slams that happen. And step 4 would be shoot. So let's say we are in this position right here and we had placed a 2 on the small vehicle there. We could go 1, 2. Well, now we're in a position to shoot. So how does shooting work? Well, you're going to use the shooting die. So going over this here, we have 2 sides that can hit a small, 3 sides that can hit a medium, 4 sides that can hit a large. So this is where the disadvantage of being large is, that smaller cars are harder to target. So this is shooting a medium here. If I were to roll this, that would just be large. We would not have hit the car in this case. But we'll go and roll again and say that we get a medium here. What happens now? Well, the car that got targeted takes a damage token, and then we'll have to resolve the effect on the damage token, and we'll add it to their board. We'll go over the effects on the damage tokens here in just a bit. And then after shooting, your turn is over. Okay, so I had talked about slams. What happens on a slam? Well, we'll say we hit a car, you will slam. The car that was moving goes on top, and the car that was sitting there is on the bottom. Well, what you will do is you will use the slam die and the direction die. And this, the slam die, will tell you which car is going to be affected. You can see that we will have one car highlighted in kind of an imprint of another car. This one would be the bottom car. That one would be the top car. And that will tell you who will end up moving. And this would affect the bottom car and the bottom car, which they would move 1 space back, and that would be an impassable space, which would actually eliminate that car. Now, on any slam, one time, if one of the cars is larger than the other, the owner of the larger car can decide that they want to re-roll. So if this would have been the top car, for example, that was beginning slam, that would have moved you back there. Well, they wouldn't really be very happy about going there and having their car eliminated, so they would very likely re-roll in that case. However, in this case here, they would be very happy to have that car go back and be eliminated. And of course, since that car is eliminated, the small token there just goes away, and that car goes away. And you saw what happened there if it went into that space. If it would have gone into this space, that would have made it do this here, which would then make it have to do the effect for the oil slick, which would send it back there. It could have alternatively gone there. It could have gone there. It could have gone there, which would have just made another slam happen. So a few other things you need to know. When a car goes past the end of the lead board, if it was here on the lead board and it went forward, what happens? Well, a number of interesting things happen. First of all, this backboard goes away, and any cars that are on the backboard are eliminated. Then this middle board would slide to the back. This front board would slide to the middle, and then we would take the top one off of the draw pile and we would put it there. This one that we took off would flip over and go onto the bottom of the draw pile. And so that gives us another board there. And you can see that these boards will keep flipping through. There are 5 boards, but with 2 sides on each of them, that is 10 unique boards. So when does this finish come out here? Well, that is a good question. In a 2-player game, this would come out as soon as the 5th board comes out. But basically, this would just go onto the end of the board there, whichever side you decide to use on it. So that would be 2 ways that you could win. Get your car past that final tile and into the end, just one of your cars, or if you are the only player with operable cars left, you automatically win just because your opponents can't continue. Because yeah, once all 3 of your cars are inoperable, you are eliminated from the game. And that is the other way that this would come out. As soon as, if you have more than 2 players, as soon as one player is eliminated from the game, the final token goes out there, no matter how many of the different boards you have placed. Okay, so the damage tokens. We haven't talked about the specifics of the damage tokens. I just talked about them. We have some different damage tokens, and they have different effects. These effects are listed here on the back page, so you can find them easy. So here's what happened. As soon as your car would take damage, you take a random one off of the damage token pile. If you get a dent is, it's just a dent. It goes on your board and nothing else happens. That is the simplest type of damage that you could take. Shrapnel doesn't do anything to you, it does things to other cars. You will roll this here and it will tell you a direction in case that way. So let's say that we had this car here was the one that took some damage and had to do shrapnel. Basically, any car sitting right there, the shrapnel is going to fly that way until it hits a car, which will be this one, and that car would end up taking a damage token. If there isn't a car there, then nothing takes damage. If you got one of your own cars there, it takes damage. Now, if you were to take skid as damage, you will see that there are different tokens here to have different movement on them, and basically you just move into that space. It's just like you took damage and it moved you into that space. If that makes you slam into a car or makes you go into another hazard or something, then you resolve that effect. Dazed is the one that's crazy. This is where the stunt die comes out. If you were right here, you will roll this on Dazed to see how many spaces you're going, which would be 3 spaces. And then each space you would move with the movement die here. So we'll start off right here with that. That would move you 1. 2 would be forward. 3 would be up to there. Managed to avoid these things in that, but you can see how that can make you do crazy stuff. And blast off. Blast off just moves you in a direction. You're going to go backwards 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. And you just directly go and fly over. So if there was like a car here, you flew over it. Think about it, if you play unmatched, that this would be place instead of move. And so of course, after you resolve a damage token, they go onto your board. And once you have 2 damage tokens, your car is now inoperable and flips over to inoperable. And it stays that way until you repair it. Once you pull one of these off with a repair, which happens with a 6 on your command board, that goes off, this car becomes operable. So this is everything you need to know about the base Thunder Road Vendetta game. So lastly, I'm going to go over the extra ammo cards here. If you order yours through Restoration directly, once again, you get the nice wash on all the cars, which make them look kind of dirty and grungy, which is a nice look, and you get these extra ammo cards. So let me show you what's going on with these. You have bounty cards, which look like this and are gray on the back. And this is basically, each of these bounties is just something that you have to resolve. Once you do this, you get some sort of bonus. So these will just shuffle up and each player will get one at the start of the game. And it'll be things like start your turn with 2 of your vehicles in the lead or tied for the lead. Then you get to remove a damage token from one of your vehicles. Or enter 2 spaces with hazards in 1 turn. You get to remove a damage token. You have the advanced airstrikes, which give you extra things that can happen when you call the airstrike on your command board. So it'll be things like low flying, where when you place your chopper, you can place it in the space with a face-up hazard token and remove it. You have one that will let you remove a damage from a vehicle adjacent to your chopper. You get one-shots, which are just additional little cards that you can do to do some special thing for you. Like play at the start of your turn, peek at 2 face-down road hazard tokens. Play when one of your vehicles will take damage. That vehicle does not take damage. You get to do this once, and then that card is, it's a one-shot, so it's used once and then removed from the board. You have the bonus commands, and these are going to be an extra command that you can use instead of just the 4 that you have. They do all kinds of interesting things for you, and it's just like a 5th command that each of you get. Each of you get one of these at the start of the game, which will give everybody one unique ability through the game. And then you have the road conditions. And what you would do on these, you wouldn't do this for the first road section, but for each of the others, you would place one of these down when that road section is placed. So this would be like Tremors, which is at the start of the round, roll the direction die and simultaneously move all vehicles 1 space in that direction. So each round, it just moves everybody on that one. Icy is whenever the direction die moves a vehicle on this road tile, move it 1 extra space in that same direction. So a bunch of different things that can happen there with different conditions to make the roads different. And these are just interesting ways to spice up the game and add some extra stuff to it there. So if you found this game interesting and you like this video, give it a thumbs up and a like. You can go down into the comment section and let me know any thoughts or questions that you have down there. And you can also subscribe to my channel to make sure you catch all the videos I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with Poindexter G, and we'll see you around next time.